Good morning. It's a little after 11, I think, Monday morning. It's about 84, 85 degrees out here, but I'm only going to be here for a few minutes. I'm going to pick up where I left off last night. I'm going to read a little piece from Genesis chapter 6, starting with verse 1. When humankind began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humankind were beautiful. Thus they took wives for themselves from any they chose. So the Lord said, My spirit will not remain in humankind indefinitely, since they are mortal. They will remain for 120 more years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also after this, when the sons of God would sleep with the daughters of humankind, who gave birth to their children. They were the mighty heroes of old, the famous men. Okay, the question is, what does Nephilim mean? It doesn't relate directly to those mighty men of old, the heroes of old. It just says that they were in the earth in those days. And I have, for years, have suggested that the Nephilim, which generally is translated, the reason they use the word Nephilim is because they didn't know what it meant. That's a Greek word. They translated the Hebrew, from Hebrew to Greek, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, before Christ was born. And that's the Septuagint, that's the Greek, which is where we get most of our Old Testament from. There are several copies of that still available, extant. Anyway, Nephilim was, what does that mean? It's generally translated as giants. So I have suggested that the Nephilim were the dinosaurs, because dinosaurs and men coexisted prior to the flood. There are footprints of both in the same dirt, someplace, several places in the world. Anyway, and I've never heard that said before. Well, Paul Taylor, in his book, The 6 Days of Genesis, suggested the same thing. And I think that's the first time I've ever heard that suggested or accepted or anything else. So that is kind of cool. I've finally found somebody that sort of agrees with me on that one. So one of the things that really kind of irks me with Paul Taylor is the fall, when Adam and Eve disobeyed God and ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He thinks that happened on day 8. And it's like, seriously? You don't even think they made it through 48 hours from the time they were created before they're sinning? And then some other ancient archbishop, somebody or other, thinks it was on day 10. It's like, well, that isn't much better. It could have been as much as 100 years. All we know is that when Adam was 130, that's when Seth was born. And Cain had already killed Abel prior to that. So they were born and had chance to, and there were many other sons and daughters born to them. We don't know when Adam and Eve started having children. You wouldn't think they'd wait 100 years, but I don't think they barely were created before they started sinning either. They could have gone many years, decades, scores, before sinning. But that doesn't explain why. It doesn't say that they had children in the garden. Apparently they sinned before they started having children. So we don't know. Okay, there's no evidence one way or the other, but I think to assume that they sinned on day 8 or day 10 is a little bit of a stretch. I think they had a lot more good time with God before they bit that fruit, whatever it was. And there again, just the fact that they did it they now had knowledge of evil. They knew what it meant to disobey God. It wasn't magic, it wasn't anything, but there was a consequence. They became mortal. Hence, we are mortal. And the age spans before the flood, they all lived like 900 years, 6, 7, 8, 900 years before the flood. After the flood, their ages started shortening up to the point where we are now, where 70 years is a pretty good life. Some people make it to 100 or more, but not much more than that. 120, it's about the limit these days. But anyway, have a great day, folks.